Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. This video is going to be fun for me, I believe. It's a video response to Clemente Collector. And Clemente Collector, I just found him on YouTube, and I've enjoyed his channel. And he he asked us to do a video response for our most well-loved card or cards, and he set some parameters, meaning he didn't want us, if we showed a graded card, it couldn't be graded higher than a 2. But it had to be a card that was well loved. It could be any card. And I chose a handful of cards, but I'm going to show you my best and most favorite one at the very end. And it means a lot to me. All these cards mean a lot to me. And the reason I'm going to enjoy this video is my collection is loaded with well-loved cards. And I do not have to apologize to anybody about these cards. And now I totally get it. So I totally get people that only collect, certain grade cards. There's some great collections on here on the YouTube that it just amazes me. And but that's just not my collection. I try to go after runs. I go after player runs. I go after, if you watched a video, I went after a poster run. Um, I'm a rookie Hall of Fame collector, and I'm the rookie post-war Hall of Fame collector. And some of those cards, if I was to go after them now in let's say a grade 4 or 5, even on some of the really old ones, I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't afford to have the collection that I have. But I don't really apologize for these cards because most of them were well loved when I got them, and somebody was holding them for me, and now I have these cards. I have gotten a lot of them graded, and now I'm just temporarily holding them for someone else. And so I'm going to stop talking and start showing some cards and maybe tell a little bit of story or a little bit of something about the card itself. And I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. So the first one I'm going to show you, I haven't had very long. I got it at the National not too long ago, 2 Nationals ago. And this is the Joe DiMaggio. It's a 38 Gotti. I call it the Big Head Gotti. And you can see that it's well loved. The corners are rounded. It even looks a little dirty on it, but I really like that card. It's one of my favorite cards. The next one, I also picked up at the National, and I picked it up this past year. And I remember the cards I traded for it. I went there. I went to the National in search of the '53 Bowman Pee Wee Reese, the in action card, and I had one, and I sent it off to be graded, and I had it for a long time, and I sent it off to be graded, and it came back non-authentic, and it really surprised me. So I went there, and I had that card, and then I had a Ted Williams card in a leaf, and I ended up trading it for this card right here before I got out of the National. So I picked them up at the National, but then traded it for this, and you can see it's a MK, and you can see the mark behind his back foot there. But man, I really like it, and it goes well with my other Lou Gehrig stuff. Now this one here, the next one I'm going to show you is the '53 Mays. Now that Mays I picked up at a card shop at the Lake of the Ozarks that I used to go to a lot. I became friends there with a card shop owner. His name was Jeff, and he's a cantankerous old guy. He'd almost talk like he didn't want you in his shop, but I got to know him, and I got to like him, and we'd tease each other back and forth. And Jeff got sick, and he'd been sick for a while. And anyway, we haggled over this card, and I told him how much overpriced he had it, and it wasn't even graded at the time, and I told him, I said, this is probably fake, and just joking with him a little bit. And I kept telling him about the tape marks on them and how it was going to go down in price. But I'm glad I bought this thing. Jeff ended up passing away a little over a year ago, and I have a few cards in my collection that I think about him when I get them out. And this is a well-loved card, and it came from a guy that, well, I got to love a lot, and got to share the hobby, my hobby growth with him, and miss him. But I get this thing out and I think of him. Now this is the last card I'm going to show, and it's probably my favorite well-loved card, and I've had it a long time. And if you guys like this channel and haven't watched a couple of them, I did an earlier episode called the Dufresne Collection, and it's about me. I used to mow a yard for a lady when I was just a real little kid, and she would pay me baseball cards sometimes instead of money. And this was one of my first cards that I ever got, and it was already well loved when I got it. And for years it was always my best card. If somebody would ask me what my best card was, I would break this card out right here. And there was one time I almost came to tears when I opened up a Price Guide magazine. It had a little arrow, and this thing was pointed down, and I was like, how can that be pointed? How could this be going down in price? And I had this for I've had it for a long time, and somebody was holding it for me. Miss Dufresne was, or her son, and I'm just holding it for somebody else. And I hope whoever gets these someday, either when I sell them or trade them or whatever, I hope they like well-loved cards as much as I do. Now, I don't apologize for any of these cards, and I am so glad I have them. And there's some great collections out there that I totally get it when they only go after a certain grade of card, and I get that, and I respect that. But I kind of am the other direction since I started out with well-loved cards. Now listen, if I can get a George Brett rookie and a PSA 9, I'm going to try to get that. If I can get a Ricky Henderson in a 10, I would definitely go after those. And I'd go after any of these cards if I could afford it. But these are my cards, and this is my collection. And remember, it's just a hobby. Collect what you like.